I want you to just imagine a scenario for a second. You're standing on a sidewalk, and you're looking up at a house, and it is very, very clearly on fire. I mean, smoke is just billowing out of the windows. You can feel the heat on your face, and the roof looks like it's about to cave in.
It's a terrifying image. Yeah.
It is. But then you turn to the firefighter next to you, totally calm, and you say, actually, I don't think there's a fire.
Well,
And when they ask you why, you just point down and you say, because the sidewalk isn't bubbling.
that's completely absurd. I mean, you would never wait for the concrete to literally melt before you called for help.
Exactly. But that is the central metaphor that Dr. Jennifer Gaudiani uses to describe how we, and frankly, how a lot of the medical system treats eating disorders. We wait for the sidewalk to bubble.
For that total medical collapse.
Yeah.
We wait until it's almost too late before we admit the house is even on fire.
And that's exactly what we're unpacking in this deep dive. We are looking at Dr. Gaudiani's incredible book, Sick Enough. And I have to say, this material just, it completely upended what I thought I knew about the biology of starvation.
It really forces a paradigm shift. Dr. Gaudiani, or Dr. G, as her patients call her, she's an internist, so she specializes in the medical complications of eating disorders.
Right.
And her whole thesis is that most people with eating disorders do not look like that emaciated stereotype we see in movies. And here's the real kicker. Their blood work, it often comes back completely normal.
Which creates this unbelievably dangerous psychological trap, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
If you don't look like a skeleton and your doctor says your labs are fine, you start to believe, well, I'm not sick enough, I don't deserve help.
I'm not at death's door, so I must be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our mission today is really to dismantle that belief. We're going to dig into the biology of what Dr. G calls the cave person brain.
I love that term. It's perfect. And it explains why the body does some truly strange and honestly frightening things when it's deprived of fuel.
So let's start right there. The cave person brain. Because this isn't just some cute nickname, it's an evolutionary reality.
It is. And it is the key to understanding, well, everything else we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
The thing is, our culture has evolved so fast. We have diet culture, wellness cleanses, intermittent fasting.
30-day challenges, all of that.
All of that. But your biology, your deep ancient biology hasn't really updated its software in about 40,000 years.
So when you go on a wellness cleanse or restrict your calories, your brain doesn't know you're doing it for, beach season.
Not at all. Your ancient biology has only one interpretation for a big drop in calories: famine. It assumes the food has run out, period.
And it kicks into survival mode.
Instantly. It initiates this whole sequence to keep you alive. It enters what Dr. G calls metabolic hibernation.
Like a bear in winter.
Exactly like a bear. I mean, think about what a bear does. It finds a cave, curls up, and it shuts down everything that's not absolutely essential. The body literally turns down its thermostat to conserve energy.
And you see this in actual physical symptoms in humans.
Oh, absolutely. This is why patients who are restricting often have a very low heart rate. It's called bradycardia. The heart is slowing down to save pumps.
Okay.
Their body temperature drops, so they're freezing cold all the time. Their blood pressure gets lower. The body's just trying to spend as little physiologic cash as possible.
I've noticed that in people who are chronically dieting, they always seem to have cold hands.
That's a specific mechanism. It's called acrocyanosis. You might see their hands or feet look sort of reddish blue, and they feel like ice.
Wow.
That is the cave person brain saying, look, we don't need warm fingers to survive a famine. We need a warm heart and a warm brain. So it shunts the blood away from the limbs and keeps it in the core.
It's just brutal efficiency. But here's the flaw in that whole bear metaphor, isn't it? I mean, the bear is asleep. Humans are still trying to live their lives.
That is the critical difference. The bear isn't trying to get a 4.0 or work a high-stress job or run cross-country.
Right.
When a human tries to maintain high-performance life while their body is in hibernation mode, the strain is just catastrophic.
That makes so much sense. And speaking of high performance, this gets to one of the most confusing things for everyone, even doctors, the athlete's heart.
Oh, this is a classic. A patient goes to the doctor, their pulse is, say, 45, and they say, oh, it's low because I'm a runner, I'm super fit.
And the doctor probably high-fives them for it. Wow, great cardio health.
They do. But biologically, those two heart rates are telling completely different stories. An athlete's heart is efficient. It's a strong muscle. It pumps a huge volume of blood with one squeeze, so it doesn't need to beat very often.
It's idling efficiently.
Precisely. A starving heart is slow for the opposite reason. It's slow because it's trying to save energy, and frankly, because The heart muscle itself has weakened. It's deconditioned. It's not idling. It's stalling.
So if you're a parent or a partner, how do you even tell the difference? A pulse of 45 is a pulse of 45 on the monitor.
Well, Dr. G uses this brilliant low-tech tool, the walk across the room test.
Okay.
If you take an elite athlete with a resting heart rate of 45 and ask them to walk down the hall, their heart rate barely moves.
Right, because walking isn't a stressor for them.
Exactly. But you take someone whose heart is hibernating from starvation, and they walk down that same hall, their heart rate might shoot up from 45 to 95.
Wow, just from walking. That's a huge jump.
It's massive. Because the heart is so weak, it has to beat frantically just to handle that tiny bit of movement. That is not fitness. That is fragility.
That is such a clear, practical takeaway. And this inability to sort of gauge your own sickness, it ties into the perfect child narrative she talked about.
Yes. This part of the book is so insightful. She describes this profile of, sensitive, high-achieving kids who internalize this message that they must always be fine.
They can't be a burden.
Exactly. And so they go to the doctor, they get a standard blood panel, CBC, electrolytes, and it all comes back normal.
And they hold that up like a shield. See, I told you, I'm not sick. The numbers say I'm fine.
But this is one of the most important insights from the book. The body defends homeostasis, that balance in the blood, until the absolute bitter end.
Okay, break that down for me. What do you mean it defends it?
Your blood chemistry, your pH, your electrolytes. It all has to be kept in this tiny, narrow range to keep you alive. So if you're not eating any calcium, your body doesn't just let your blood calcium drop.
It has to get it from somewhere.
It leaches it right out of your bones to keep the blood levels perfect.
So it's cannibalizing the structure to save the fluid.
Perfectly put. It will literally digest its own muscle tissue to keep protein levels up. So normal labs in a starving person, they're not a sign of health. They're a testament to the body's desperate efficiency.
Which brings us right back to the house on fire. The labs are the sidewalk.
Exactly. Just because they aren't bubbling doesn't mean the whole house isn't burning to the ground. You cannot wait for the labs to crash.
I want to pivot to something that I think is really confusing for a lot of people. Digestion. Because you'd think if you stopped eating, you'd be ravenously hungry. But Dr. G explains that many patients feel incredibly full after just a few bites.
Right. This is a condition called gastroparesis, which literally means stomach paralysis.
Stomach paralysis.
Again, go back to the cave person brain. Digestion is mechanically expensive. It takes a lot of muscle energy to churn up food.
And if you're in a famine,
the body says, nope, we can't waste precious calories on contracting the stomach. So the stomach just stops moving. The food just sits there like a rock.
And that's what causes the bloating and the nausea.
Exactly. Patients will say they feel Thanksgiving full after eating like half a sandwich. And the tragic irony is that they interpret this as listening to their body. They think, oh, my body's telling me I'm full.
So they stop eating, which just makes the starvation and the paralysis even worse. It's a vicious cycle.
It is. And here's where it gets really counterintuitive. If you go to a regular doctor complaining of constipation and bloating, what's the first thing they tell you?
Eat more fiber, have a big salad, eat some bran.
But in the context of starvation, that is the single worst advice you can give. Fiber is hard to digest. It's like putting logs into a wood chipper that isn't turned on. You just get a jam.
So the treatment is actually processed food.
Initially, yeah. Things like white bread, processed snacks, calorie-dense foods that dissolve easily. You have to restart the engine gently. She also mentions a medication, metoclopramide, that can mechanically force the stomach to empty, which can be a lifesaver.
It's just amazing how the standard healthy eating advice is actually dangerous here.
It's completely invoted. You have to treat the physiology you have, not the one you wish you had.
Let's talk about the more hidden dangers, the stuff you can't see or feel right away, like hormones and bones.
Yeah, this connects right back to the hibernation theme. When the brain senses famine, it shuts down reproductive function. It just realizes this is not a safe time to make a baby.
Makes total biological sense.
So it rolls your hormone levels all the way back to pre-puberty. For females, periods stop, that's amenorrhea. For males, testosterone just plummets.
But there's a huge trap here, especially for women. Doctors will sometimes prescribe the birth control pill to jumpstart the period.
This is a massive myth of the bus. It sounds so logical, right? You lost your period, take this pill, you get a bleed, problem solved.
Right, it feels like a fix.
But the period you get on the pill is a fake bleed. It's a withdrawal bleed from the medication. All it does is mask the body's alarm signal. You might be bleeding every month, but your bones are still crumbling underneath.
And the bone issue is terrifying. We're not talking about your grandma breaking a hip. We're talking about teenagers getting osteoporosis.
And it happens so fast. Starvation causes high cortisol, the stress hormone. High cortisol plus low sex hormones is a recipe for bone destruction. Dr. G notes that fracture risk can increase by 60% after just 1 year of anorexia.
1 year. That's unbelievably fast.
It's 1 year. And the pill does not protect your bones in this state. Only nutrition and weight restoration can do that. It is the only fix.
We have to talk about the ultimate risk here, death. I think there's a misconception that people with EDs die of a heart attack, like a clogged artery.
It's rarely a heart attack in that sense. It's usually cardiac arrest caused by hypoglycemia, so low blood sugar.
Run that by me again. How does low sugar stop the heart?
Well, think of your body like a car. When you run out of fuel, the car just stops. In starvation, the body burns through its fat stores, it burns through its muscle, and eventually there's no glycogen left. The sugar level drops to nothing.
And the heart is a muscle.
The heart is a muscle that needs fuel to pump. If the fuel tank is empty, it just stops beating.
That's terrifying because it sounds so silent.
It is, and the warning signs can be so subtle, like waking up sweaty or anxious, or even having no symptoms at all because the body has stopped even signaling hunger. It's literally running on fumes.
Okay, we've covered the internal stuff, but there are some really bizarre physical symptoms that Dr. G details, things I had never even heard of, like hearing your own voice inside your head.
Oh, autophonia. This one is fascinating. Did you know you have a tiny pad of fat that keeps your eustachian tube, the tube in your ear, closed?
I had no idea.
Well, when you lose enough weight, the body burns that tiny fat pad for energy. The tube just pops open, and suddenly you can hear your own breath and your own voice echoing loudly inside your head. It's described as a whooshing sound.
That would be maddening.
Extremely distressing. Patients will actually walk around with their head between their knees because that position helps the tissue swell and close the tube for a minute.
And what about the one with the eyes? Sleeping with your eyes open.
Lagophthalmos. Same exact concept. There's a fat pad behind your eyeball. If it shrinks, the eye physically sinks back into the socket, and the eyelids can't fully close anymore.
It really drives home the point that no part of the body is spared. I mean, even the fat behind your eyes is fair game for fuel.
And then there's SMA syndrome, which is where the loss of visceral fat, the fat cushioning your organs, causes the aorta and another artery to basically pinch the small intestine shut like a nutcracker.
So food literally can't get through.
It creates a physical blockage. It's a mechanical problem caused by weight loss that creates a vicious cycle where the person physically cannot eat, which makes the weight loss even worse.
So, okay, we've established the house is on fire. The structure is crumbling. How do we put it out? What does the fix actually look like?
Nutritional rehabilitation.
Yeah.
But Dr. G calls this the black box of recovery because the body does something really unexpected. When a starved person starts eating again, their metabolism doesn't stay slow.
It revs up.
It revs up into overdrive. Hypermetabolism. The body has so much repair work to do, rebuilding organs, muscle, bone, that it burns through energy like crazy. Patients often wake up drenched in night sweats because their body is literally generating so much heat.
And this is where the calorie numbers get so shocking for people.
They do. It's not uncommon for patients to need 3, 4, even 5,000 calories a day just to gain a small amount of weight.
5,000 calories? I mean, that's an Olympic swimmer's diet.
It is an immense amount of energy. And you can imagine how terrifying that number is to someone who has a deep phobia of food. It feels like they're binging. But biologically, they're just paying off a massive debt.
But there is a real danger in refeeding too fast, right? I've heard of refeeding syndrome.
Yes, and this is very serious. If you introduce food too quickly without medical oversight, insulin spikes. And that drives electrolytes, specifically phosphorus, out of the blood and into the cells to start building tissue.
And the blood level just bottoms out.
It's critically low. And you need phosphorus for your heart to beat. So it can cause heart failure or seizures. It's a medical emergency.
So you have to go slow.
Well, that's the debate. The old method was start low and go slow, like maybe 1,000 calories. But we now know that just causes underfeeding syndrome.
Yeah.
You're just starving them more slowly.
You're prolonging the misery.
Exactly. The modern evidence supports starting higher, around 1,600 calories or more. But you have to monitor those electrolytes like a hawk and supplement phosphorus if you need to.
Now, psychologically, there's another huge hurdle, the pooch. Patients start eating, and suddenly they look down and see this distended stomach.
This is where Dr. G's balloon metaphor is so brilliant. Patients are terrified that the food is instantly turning into belly fat.
Right.
So she explains it this way. Imagine a balloon. If you put a thin sheet over it, you see every curve and bump.
Okay, I can picture that.
That's a starving abdomen. The abdominal wall is thin, the muscles are weak, so when there's food inside, you see the digestion happening. It looks dramatic. But if you put a heavy horse blanket over that same balloon, you don't see the contours. A recovered abdomen has muscle and a healthy layer of fat. That's the horse blanket.
So the goal is to build the horse blanket.
Exactly. The bloating is temporary, it's mechanics, it's not getting fat, it's just that the abdominal wall is too thin to hold everything in yet.
That visual is so helpful. It reframes it from failure to work in progress.
Precisely.
As we start to wrap up, I want to leave everyone with that parable she uses at the end of the book, the hiker story.
The perfectionist versus the appreciative achiever. I love this one.
Right. So two hikers climb a mountain. The perfectionist gets to the top, but they're miserable. They're criticizing their time. They're angry about their gear. They just miss the entire point of the climb.
And the appreciative achiever gets to the top and just enjoys the view. They appreciate that their body was strong enough to get them there. They're grateful for the experience.
And recovery is about shifting from that perfectionist mindset, which is the eating disorder voice, to appreciating the body's incredible resilience.
And I think Dr. G's core message just summarizes everything we've discussed. You cannot fool the body. You can't trick biology. If you are restricting, if you are purging, if you are over-exercising, you are sick enough to need help.
Regardless of what the scale says.
Regardless of the scale, regardless of the blood test, regardless of whether you look sick. If the behaviors are there, the damage is happening internally.
Trust the biology, not the eating disorder voice.
That's it. Full nutritional rehabilitation is the only way to turn off that cave person brain. You have to biologically convince it that the famine is finally over.
A huge thank you to Dr. Jennifer Gaudiani and her book Sick Enough for giving us the roadmap for this discussion. It is a must-read.
Absolutely essential reading.
And here's just one final thought to walk away with. We talked about how the body shuts down non-essential functions like reproduction and digestion to survive. But think about what else is non-essential to a starving brain.
Creativity, empathy, humor, connection.
Exactly. When you starve the body, you starve the personality. Recovery isn't just about getting your heart rate up. It's about getting you back. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Take care of yourselves.